I want to talk about what I saw at Ford Takeover. It's like I had an epiphany, and you guys are going to love this shit. The NA cars, typically when they get up on the dyno, you think, okay, these are going to be the lower horsepower cars. Everybody just kind of, stands around like, it's an NA car. I want to see the power adder cars, right? Because they had two different classes there. I'm thinking, it's a Mustang dyno, so they read low anyway. I was thinking, okay, we might see one break like 440, something like that. I saw two with my own eyes make, I think it was 540 and I think 570 to the wheels. Whoa, hold up. So I'm taking notice. Doug was one of the guys on the white LX, and then Lucifer on the GT. Those are the two cars that really kind of opened my eyes to this. I don't know the exact number. I don't even have the video footage to verify it, but a lot of you guys were there, and I'm sure you have video of it. But I want to say Doug made like 540 or something like that, and I want to say Lucifer made somewhere around 540, 570. Either way, these are over 500 horsepower cars, and they're 351 based NA cars. Crazy, right? Crazy. What the hell happened? What changed in the world to where now we got street cars, NA, making this kind of power? Because it wasn't always this way. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Why this is important is because a lot of you guys don't want to deal with nitrous. You don't want to deal with superchargers. You don't want to deal with turbos. And the rooster's over here acting crazy. Once again, bastard. So I want to give you some options for 302, 351 based setups. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. 351 based engines are just going to be easier to make power, right? So if you can pick up a 351 for a couple $100, maybe $300, 400, 500, whatever, 550, I don't give a shit. It's worth it. And here's why. Obviously, you get more cubic inch out of it. Even if you stay 351 and you just put a set of heads on it or whatever, you're going to make more power, right? The other option is to stay 302. You really need a dart block if you're going to stay 302 based 8.2 deck. And the reason is because you want some cubic inches. These 302s can make power, but it's harder for them to make power naturally aspirated. Now, with nitrous, with turbo, with boost, anything can make power if you throw enough at it. But here's the issue you're going to run into. You get into block splitting numbers, territory, if you will. And I don't want you guys living on the edge. Can you? Absolutely. But if I can give you a better option if you're doing a build, is to go 351 based. Or you can always buy that dart block. But hear me out. That dart block 302 is not much less than that dart block 351, so you might as well go that way. You're going to need some motor mounts, you're going to need some headers, a different distributor, and things like that, but it's really not that big of a deal. Trust me, it's worth it to go ahead and do it. Obviously, we're talking about more or less 351 type builds here, whether it be a 393 stroker, which is what the Calypso has, 408, 427. I mean, you're getting up into you needing aftermarket block type stuff, but you can do it. I've seen it done before. You ever heard of a cleaver? Ooh, they're nasty. So I want you guys to be able to make some good power and the car still be drivable. So how do we pull this off? Part of it is due to more cubic inches. With more cubic inches, these cars can take a bigger camshaft. They still sound good. They might not hit quite as hard as a little 302 with a big cam, but they can take that because they got more torque and they can pull themselves out of that lope, if you will. I'm just trying to explain it in a way that maybe you can understand it, okay? This car has a B61 camshaft from Anderson Ford Motorsport, and it is a big bastard. I say big. I mean, obviously it's not like a 700-inch solid roller. You get what I'm saying, right? But those cubic inches are going to allow you to be able to run this big cam in the car. So the camshaft and your choice of heads, intake, carburetor, or EFI is what's going to dictate the RPM that this thing can turn. Now, you're going to need supporting valve train for it, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. You're probably going to have to upgrade your valve springs and all that, especially for you guys that are going solid roller. You're definitely going to have to. Speaking of solid roller, let's talk about those options real quick. And I'm going to give you a setup. I'm going to give you some setups at the end of this video to help you guys out that we know work, that are proven to work. But right now we need to talk about valve train, cam, lifters, and things like that. If you want to make big power, here's what it's going to take. A healthy camshaft, some healthy heads, a good intake that can flow it, a good carburetor, or some really good EFI. I'm going to put you guys up on game here. Some of you aren't going to like what I have to say. I recommend carbureted. I really do. I don't care where you live. You can live up north. You can live in Alaska. You can live down in Miami. It doesn't matter. California, well, I don't know about California. Carburetors tend to make more horsepower versus off-the-shelf EFI stuff. Not always, but they tend to make more power. You want to make the most power you can and the car be streetable. I recommend a healthy, solid roller cam or limited travel lifters on a hydraulic roller camshaft, some good heads, and a carburetor setup. And here's why. The carburetors are more forgiving when you're trying to drive them around on the street. The EFI has a hard time trying to make sense of that vacuum and that lift and just everything. It's just a lot for EFI to have to deal with. I recommend a Holley Terminator X on these cars with carburetor. You're thinking, well, I don't want to do all that. Good. You don't have to. You can just go MSD and be done with it. But if you guys want to take it to the next level, control your timing and all that stuff, I recommend the Holley Terminator X. And of course, we have a kit here I'll go ahead and show you from Anderson Ford Motorsport to help you out. This is not a plug for that. I just want to let you guys know. Now, your other option is to stay EFI, which is perfectly fine, but it's going to get expensive. It's going to get very expensive very quick. And here's the issue. The car has to be tuned. So you have the price of a tuner involved, which is a lot of money, right? But you're going to have bigger injectors, upper and lower intake, throttle body, all sorts of different things, right, to make this work. I know the arguments that everybody has. I get it. Carburetors are not dependable. They're not reliable. If the elevation changes, if the temperature changes, that's not true. It's really not true. Sometimes will they change? Yeah, maybe. They're not perfect, but a carburetor, you can overjet or underjet and it'll still run good. You can take a carburetor off of a big block Chevy and put it on a 302 and guess what? It'll fire up and go down the road. It may be a little rich, but it'll work. Why am I telling you all this? Because if you want to make the power, the most power possible and still be streetable, believe it or not, I recommend a carbureted setup. They're just more forgiving. Like I told you before, the EFI is not trying to do all this and calculate that to get this car to go, and then it acts crazy and it bucks and acts dumb with you in the neighborhood. Let's get back to the setup. You're going to have a good set of heads, okay? Definitely a good set of heads. Do not cheap out on your heads. Now, SVE's got a set of 185cc heads that I like. LMR sells them, and they're actually a really good head. I've never used them, but I've seen a lot of good results with them, okay? Typically, though, here's what I'm going to recommend. A set of trick flows or a set of AFRs. I recommend a big head, regardless of what size your engine is. Big set of heads. A good intake. Victor Jr. intake, I think Professional Products or Speedway Motors or whoever sells like the Hurricane knockoff intake, that's fine. That's a good intake. Port match it all up. Let's get back to the camshaft talk. So what do we do here? Do we go with a solid roller, hydraulic roller, or limited travel? Now, a lot of you guys don't know what limited travel is, and I'm going to explain it to you. Basically, you only have like a total of 30 thousandths of travel within the cushion on the inside of the lifter. A solid roller has no cushion. A hydraulic roller has tons of cushion. I don't even know what it is, honestly. I recommend two options. A limited travel setup, and they're not cheap for the lifters, or either a solid roller, and they're not cheap. You can run a hydraulic roller and throw the limited travel lifters in there with it. Now, what this is going to do is give you some really good high RPM stability, okay? Same goes for the solid roller. Don't think that, oh, well, you got to adjust the valves every couple hundred miles. No, you don't, and here's why. Underneath these valve covers sits a girdle. That's what I call them, at least. So your poly locks that you adjust your lash with now have a strap that goes across the top that locks everything in. They can't loosen up. They're not going to loosen up. If you set them right and you locked them down and you put that strap across the top, that girdle, they're not going to loosen up on you. The only thing is, the caveat to this is you got to have a tall valve cover to be able to run them. And yes, I still recommend running a girdle even with limited travel, okay? It just helps with valve train stability. That's pretty much it. That's about it, honestly. So you can call up Kevin at CSU for your carburetor, and he'll spec it out for you guys to make sure that you've got the right carburetor with power valves that are close. And how he does this is he looks at your cam specs, he looks at the weight of the car, the gearing of the car, all the stuff. And then he'll set you up with a carburetor that's going to be damn close, okay? ATM also does a really good job if you guys want to use them as well. I've had pretty good luck with them. Now, a lot of people ask, well, how do I go about doing that? It's really pretty easy. All you got to do is run your stock pump and run a regulator that regulates from EFI to carb. That's all you got to do. For most of you guys, even in the 500 wheel horsepower mark, that's enough. You may have to upgrade your pump, but you should be able to probably still leave your lines and things like that. If not, you can upgrade to AN lines. It's super simple, y'all. Super simple. So what is a setup like this going to be capable of? What can it take out there in the real world? Oh, a lot of shit. A setup like this right here is going to take out a Scat Pack, a stock Coyote, possibly a Coyote on E85, 10-speed, possibly even swapped over into a Fox body, at least when you get up into the bigger cubic inches. You do 408, 11-to-1 compression, run E85, a healthy cam. Oh yeah, that E85 swapped Coyote car in a Fox body setup. Oh yeah, they're not going to want to see you. These cars move out with cubic inches, a little bit of compression, some cam, and some heads. I'm telling you. Now here's the other side to it. We're talking 500 plus to the wheels. NA. See this back here? See that setup hanging on the wall? That is a cheap Edelbrock kit that you can get on Facebook Marketplace and get for hardly nothing. I think it's good for a 125 shot. You throw 125 horsepower on a car that we just talked about building, a setup like that, brother, I don't know if you realize what you're going to have. You are going to have a 600 to 700 plus rear wheel horsepower car. I mean, you're going to be right there in that realm, right? Guys, we're talking nasty setups. But I know what everybody's thinking. They say, yeah, Brutal, back in the day you could have done that. But you're not going to run with these new cars now. Oh, really? Because we've got weight on our side when it comes to these Fox bodies over here. A car like the Calypso with a 250 shot ramped in through the Terminator X, because the Terminator X can control ramp now. So you can just, in other words, a progressive kit, right? A car like the Calypso with a 250 ramp on it. Guys, it's going to outrun Hellcats. It's probably going to run right with, or maybe faster than, the 21 Whipple Coyote 10-speed car. I'm not sure it's going to outrun it, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you're in that territory. You're in that realm, right? And what if your car hooks and theirs doesn't? You've got a car that's going to go out and absolutely dominate, and you're going to do it old school. You're going to be all over YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You're going to be shared all over the place. If you go out there and you skin up one of these cars and somebody videos this shit, I'm telling you guys, people love that stuff. I know most of you don't care about it. I'm just saying, like, it's getting to the point now where it's unique to see something like that happen. And I'm telling you guys right now, you can do it. Remember the difference. We got limited travel lifters now, which I recommend. Solid rollers that don't need to be adjusted every other day. And we got some really good heads. That's the difference. One thing I want to leave you guys with is, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you gear your car correctly. Don't over gear it, but make sure you got enough gear in your car so that way the car performs and you're using all the power. I'll give you a good example. The Calypso, I've got the rev limiter set at 7,400 on this thing, and we typically shift it about 7,200. They can turn some RPM. Trust me, you're going to need a transmission. I recommend, at bare minimum, a TKX. Okay, if you're going to be out there racing, street racing, drag racing, whatever, I bare minimum a TKX. But if you're going to take it to the next level, I'd go ahead and put a T56 in it. I got the Magnum in mind. It does great. I'll probably never know it's there, which is a good thing. I'll never have to worry about it. Probably it won't ever give me any trouble, but it'll be money well spent. That's a McLeod RXT 1200 in that car. You don't have to go that much clutch. Ram's got some good clutches out there. McLeod's got stuff. Hell, you can run to your local AutoZone and pick up a clutch, and it'll get you by for a while, okay? Put you a set of Mickey Thompson Street R's on the car. Some uppers, some lowers. Set the car up right, and guys, you've got a deadly combination. Still to this day in 2025, I never hear anybody give these Fox bodies any credit anymore. I watch a ton of races where they go out and they like roll race and stuff. I know you guys aren't into that. I get it, but I like it. But I watch a lot of those videos, and it's Coyotes, it's Camaros, it's Hellcats. That's what you see out there. You hardly ever see a Fox body out there. And you know the crazy thing is, they can still compete. They can still compete. You don't need 1,200 to the wheels. If you've got a 700 to the tire Fox body and it works, these fat cars out there today are gonna have a hard time. Anyway, I just want to talk about it because this kind of blew my mind when we were in Tennessee and I saw all these crazy numbers that I had not been seeing. And then we go out and we run a Coyote car and we outrun it. you know, I love Zach to death, and you're going to see a lot more of that coming up here soon. We're going to be getting after each other because next year it's on. But like Zach's car was putting in work, it was doing good, you know. That's a 400 plus rear wheel horsepower car. So it surprised me. It surprised Zach. It surprised Andrew Hanlon. Like everybody's watching, was like, shit, you know, damn, I didn't really expect the Calypso to do that. If I had to guess what the Calypso makes, it's probably somewhere around 500 to the tires. I guess maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I don't know. But it is a very good setup and it works, okay? After saying all that stuff, I hope you guys got a little something out of it. I may be what some of you guys want to call a boomer, old school, whatever. I don't really know what's going on in the world today. I get it. I understand your argument, but I've been around the block and I have seen what these things can do. This car right here is a 427. NA, it's going to be deadly. On boost, it's a nightmare. What's more impressive? Whipple Coyote, how many of those out there? An ESS Coyote or an old school pushrod Fox body showing up to the meet and tearing everybody's ass up. That's what I like. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And as always, thanks for watching.